And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful morning this morning, and we are happy to be here with you inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are your home for all your new and used vehicles, and honestly, they're your home for your next ride. So make sure you head out there today to Great Lakes Honda City, open Monday through Saturday for sales and service. 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. And you can get a sneak peek of what they have on the lot by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. So make sure you do that. Appreciate everybody being with us up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So however you're with us, thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We got a jam-packed show today, 2 awesome guests and great topics in hour 1 and 2 of pertinent things going on in the sports world today. Inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. It's a Thursday, so Papa Joe's poppin', and PJ and I are going to be talking about Major League Baseball. About 65 to 70 games into the season. Teams are right around that mark, 65 to 70 games into the 2025 season. So that's when we'll be talking about it today. And in hour number 2, Dave Pasiak will join me once again as we continue our quest through the NBA playoffs and now NBA Finals, with the Pacers taking a 2-1 lead, winning at home. They've won Game 1 and Game 3. The Thunder won Game 2 at home, lost Game 1 to the Pacers by a point, 111 to 110. So the Pacers have taken the lead, and the Pacers will be back at home tomorrow night on Friday the 13th. With that being said, Papa Joe's in the building, picture-in-picture albeit. We were next to each other for a couple shows, and I already miss it. Now we're picture-in-picture. PJ, how we doing?
Very good, Daniel. It was so much fun having you down here. We did a couple of shows like that, you and the Meatball. That was fun to watch you guys do that. And every time you leave, we miss you. But at least I can talk to you daily, so that's good.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. Our time capsules that we have here, you and I. So, PJ, I'm going to jump right into it because I know I only got you for an hour this morning. So bring us through Major League Baseball, about 65 to 70 games into the season, what it looks like.
Okay, well, I'll start with the standings like I usually do, and then go to the averages, because things are starting to shake down a little bit, and I think you see where the power is in the league. American League East, we got the Yankees at 41-25. Toronto's in second place, 4 games behind. Tampa 6 games behind. Red Sox 9 games behind, and Baltimore 14 games behind. Toronto made up a little ground. Last week they were 8-2, while the Yankees are only 6-4. That doesn't mean that Toronto's going to catch them, but my biggest disappointment still is Baltimore. I can't get over how poor they're playing and how poor they're pitching, and what a ridiculously decision to get rid of their coach. It really pissed me off. I don't take things like that lightly, especially when there's a good man that's already captained the ship. Central Division, we got the Tigers at 41-25. Minnesota's second at 7 games behind. Cleveland's 8 behind. Kansas City 9.5 behind. And Chicago at 20.5 behind. I like this division a little bit more than I have in the last couple of years. I think the Tigers will probably maintain there, but Kansas City, I think, is going to make a roll. I got some information on that later on. In the West, we got Houston at 37-30. This division is not going anywhere. This is a poor division right now. Usually it's a Central, but now it's these guys. Seattle's 4 back. LA Angels, can you imagine that? Are 4 games back. They're 33-34, and I thought they'd be 500. I thought they'd be 10 games below 500. Yeah. Texas is 5.5 behind, and the Athletics are 12.5 behind. Houston made a big move this week because Seattle was only 2-8 in their last 10 games, and Houston's getting themselves a little comfortable now. They still have some tough games coming up, some tough series. They're going to need better pitching. In the American League, the averages, Aaron Judge is hitting at a ridiculously 394.
Yeah.
The guy's not slowing up. He's hitting all sorts of pitchers. He's hitting sliders. He's hitting curveballs. He's hitting fastballs. He's hitting changeups. He's hitting everything. Jacob Wilson, though, from Athletics is hitting 366. He's in second position. The Athletics aren't going anywhere for sure. And this kid could be used as trade bait. I don't know, but he seems like a hell of a player. I've only seen him once on television so far. Home runs, Cal Raleigh from Seattle still got 26 and Judges at 25. RBIs, Judges got 59. Devers from Boston, the guy I don't want to talk about very often, has got 57. If he learns how to play the positions he's supposed to play, I won't be fussing at him. Yeah. That's the way it is. Raphael, you got to be tough. One loss. Max Fried from the Yankees got 9 wins. The ERA, Nathan Eovaldi, got a 1.56 ERA. Hunter Green 1.82, and there's Fried again at 1.84. Fried is almost unhittable at this time. He's got a nasty slider. He's a lefty, comes from the side. He's really, really nasty. Saves, Estevez from Kansas City's got 19. We'll roll to the National League East. The Mets are 44 and 24. They're very comfortable up there. Philly's second, 5 games behind. Washington's 13 and a half behind. Atlanta 14 and a half behind. Miami 18. The Mets distanced themselves because they had an 8-2 record the last 10 games. Atlanta 14 and a half behind, not even halfway through the season. Very upsetting. Very upsetting. Central Division, the Cubs 41-27. St. Louis is 5 behind. Milwaukee's 5.5 behind. Cincinnati is 6.5 behind. And Pittsburgh is 13 and a half behind. Pittsburgh, a little bit of a disappointment, too, because they have the best young pitcher in baseball, Paul Skeens, and they can't score any runs off him for him. Ridiculous. The Western Division, this is the one. These guys are playing balls to the wall, Daniel. They're all playing great. LA is 41-28. San Francisco 40-28. San Diego 38-29. Arizona 34-34. San Francisco crept up on LA. San Francisco was only a half a game behind. They were 8-2 in their last 10 games. San Diego 2 games behind. Arizona 6.5. Colorado 28. Forget about that. These 3 teams are going to battle it out with Arizona on a very slight favorite to try to sneak in there. But Arizona this year is going to have to beat 3 teams instead of 2. Average wise, we got Freddie Freeman from the Dodgers hitting 347. His catcher, Will Smith, is hitting 324. Home runs, Ohtani, 23 homers. Kyle Schwarber's got 21 homers for the Phillies. RBIs, Pete Alonso's got 62. 1 loss, Brandon Fiat from the Zona's got 8. ERA, Paul Skeens, he's got 1.88. He's got a losing record. Yeah. And he's got a low ERA. Figure that out, folks. Pittsburgh can't get a hit or run for him at all. ERA, Paul Skeens saves. Robert Suarez from San Diego's got 21. That's it in a nutshell, Daniel. But it's going to be a game. I know it's good for the fans. It's good for the guys to be noted and voted on. Besides, you got to play all the players. You pitch one pitcher 1 inning. You got 9 pitches through 9 innings. A lot of fun. But what's coming up, maybe not in the near future, but it's what I'm going to talk about next week, is the trade deadline. Yeah. The trade deadline is a little bit later this year, is on July 31st at 6 p.m. Now, from now until the All-Star game and afterwards, teams are going to be positioning, looking for players. It's going to be tough. There are some teams that are always looking for help, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the trade deadline, I mean, the excitement of that is to see who's open to it, right? And who is willing to move some of these pieces. Are there teams that are out of it that are looking to build toward the future? Are there teams that are out of it that want to hold on to a few pieces? Do they want to hold on? So they try to hold on to the Cincinnati Reds, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Colorado Rockies, as well as the Athletics of nowhere, because they're not Oakland, they're not Sacramento, and they're not Vegas yet. So finding out what they're going to do. And also to see the White Sox. Are the Royals willing to move anybody? Are the Orioles going to be looking to make some trades and get some help for their bullpen? So it's interesting. And then you look at the teams on the top. Will the Yankees make any moves? Do they think that they're missing something? They've had some injuries happen to their pitching staff as well. Do the Astros or the Mariners think that they're missing anything? The Angels are having a good season so far. Would they be looking to make any moves? The Mets have spent a lot of money in the offseason. Are they going to do anything? Are the Phillies, who are now even more games behind the Mets, are they going to make a move? And so then we look at the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Brewers. What are they going to do in the NL Central? Are they going to stay pat? Will the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Giants, or the Dodgers do anything? We know the Diamondbacks last year made a move for Josh Bell to get some power in hitting and help them out in a year where Corbin Carroll wasn't hitting that well. So will they make another move? You know, these are all the questions that'll be answered over the next month and some change. But trade deadline's always fun, PJ, because you have some thoughts of where you think people might go or who you think might be moved and whatnot, but you never know. I mean, we could see a day where one of the top pitchers in the country ends up on a playoff contender, a World Series contender, or we could see that person stay. I mean, remember, Shohei Ohtani stayed until it was all over, and then he had the decision of where he wanted to go. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Do you have anything on your mind for the trade deadline? And I guess what I'm asking, because it's on my mind this morning, is do you think that Paul Skeens could move?
What I did before we came on the air, I just jotted down the teams I thought that are important in the divisions and probably will wind up in the playoffs. In the National League East, we got New York and Toronto. I don't see Boston making a move. Baltimore is, outside of Atlanta, the most disappointing team this year. And Tampa Bay will be lucky to play flying 500 ball. You know, the Central Division is a little bit different. Yeah, Detroit and Cleveland are going to battle it out. Kansas City is still in it. I feel, like I did last year, Kansas City is going to make up some ground. I think they'll make it in. I don't think they'll win the division, but I think that they'll hang around. In the West, we got Houston and Texas. That's about all. Maybe just Houston. This division is not doing very well at all. In the National League, I got New York and Philly going to battle it out, and I think we all know that.
Yeah.
Now, both of those teams are going to be looking for arms probably. In the Central Division, you got Chicago and Milwaukee, I think. The Cubs are playing the best ball of anyone outside of Detroit. They're looks like a shoo-in. However, in the West, that's where it gets really complicated. I got L.A., San Francisco, San Diego, and maybe even Arizona sneaking in. This is unbelievable. They're playing so well. They're beating up everyone. It's unfortunate they have to play each other, but they got to do that to maintain something. When you talk about teams that are possibly looking for something, I think Detroit is probably at the top of the list. They don't have a lot of problems, but they can. Anyone now, look at the Dodgers for example. They have 4 guys that are out on the injured reserve list, and all 4 of them are starters, and they're all stars.
Yeah.
Ohtani's got to be able to start pitching pretty soon, or the Dodgers are going to be losing ground to the San Francisco and San Diego as we speak. But back to Detroit, I think they're pretty solid. At this time of year, Daniel, and even after the trade that, or after the All-Star game, I think that there are three areas where people have got to look. They got to look for starting pitching, they got to look for relieving pitching, they got to look for bats. Not really position players, just bats. Now that we had the DH in both leagues are fair now, going out and getting players. So the only problem is that they're going to have to give up something of worth. You might have a couple of kids in the minor leagues that are looking real good, but you're going to have to give them up to pull in a guy that can start for you.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to do, and that's why these GMs get paid so much money. They got to figure it out. Forget about the coaches and managers. They do what they got. They do with what they got on the field.
Yeah.
The Mets. Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
The Mets have hitting and pitching. I don't know if they're going to be looking for anything, but if they're probably looking for another arm, but I don't think so. I think they're pretty solid. If Soto will ever play baseball, perhaps maybe they'll do something.
Well, and you bring up the Mets. The Mets have extended themselves. I mean, they had a 4.5 game cushion over the Phillies. They got a 5 game cushion now, so they're holding steady at that. But they've extended themselves beyond the Nationals and the Braves. The Braves are 14.5 games back. The Nationals are 13.5 games back. The Mets' separation from the Braves is huge. The fact that the Nationals are better than the Braves right now says something about the state of the Braves, and the Mets being in a position where they were leading the NL East to start the season and for most of the start of the 2025 season, and then losing it by a few games to the Phillies and then gaining it right back, flipping the script on the Phillies, not letting the Phillies have momentum, not letting them have a long time with the lead, and ultimately giving themselves the lead back and then giving themselves a cushion, and now keeping that cushion of around 5 games at the moment is huge, and it speaks volumes to the Mets, who are 26-7 at home. They're 18-17 on the road. They're going to have to head back on the road sometime soon here, but 26-7 at home. So I got to give credit to the Mets and what they're doing in the NL East and how far the Braves have fallen. PJ, to stop there for a second, because I have some other points I want to make, but what can you say about the Mets? The fact that they were leading their division, gave it up for about a half a millisecond, and took it right back. They didn't let the Phillies get comfortable with the lead at all. And now not only do they have a lead, but it's 5 games at this point, bigger than a series. And then in the case of the Braves. So I'd love to get your thoughts on the NL East and what the Mets have done to not be going back and forth with the Phillies, but to really be holding it from the Phillies this season. And then secondly, just what you think the problem is with the Braves being so far down in the NL East.
I said earlier, it's a big disappointment to see Atlanta down that way. And they really can't blame their manager, maybe a little bit, but the Mets have been playing so well that they're the standard in this league, in this division. Philly, of course, is going to be strong, but Bryce Harper's hurt a little bit. He hasn't bet himself. Yeah. Kyle Schwarber's knocking the heck out of the ball. Troy Turner hits the heck out of the ball. But you can't win. You can win with those 3 guys, but I think that Harper's got to step it up a little bit. If Harper comes back to his MVP standard, then perhaps maybe Philly will make a run out of it. Atlanta, what can you say about Atlanta? I mean, if I was the other teams, I'd be looking to steal something. Maybe another pitcher from Atlanta. They got a bunch of them. I know they have some injuries too, but you can only use the injury excuse for so long. You have 100 kids in your minor league system.
Yeah. Pull
up some of the kids that are going to make it, or try to. Give them a chance. I mean, if you're floundering the way you are, what good is it? I mean, you may even wind up last if Miami plays as poor than they are. It's just not right. You got to do it. You got to do it, Daniel, or get off.
Yeah, and seeing, again, I mean, the Braves being in the position that they're in right now, they're going to have to do something. And we'll see if they do something for the trade deadline or if they decide to bring somebody up, because the Braves have only fallen farther down this season, unfortunately. By the way, the Mets differential in runs scored versus runs against, plus 94, Yankees plus 106, and the team and the Yankees actually have the best when it comes to runs scored versus runs against them, plus 106. The second best, the Cubs, are plus 103. I want to go to the NL West, PJ, before we take a step aside here in the Great Lakes Honda City Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The Dodgers are only a half a game above the Giants right now. The Padres are only 2 games out of first place, and the Diamondbacks have shortened their stretch that they would need to reach out and grab first place. They're only 6.5 games back. This division of the NL West, we have talked about being the best division in baseball. You talked about potentially 4 of 5 teams getting in to the postseason. I'd love to get your thoughts on the state of this right now, as the Giants, like I said, are only a half a game behind. The Padres are only 2 games behind, and then fourth place to first place is only 6.5 games. So things are getting closer and closer, and the Giants may edge even closer as they have their last game of a 3-game series with the Colorado Rockies, who are one of the worst teams in baseball. So if the Giants win today, then they could edge even closer to the Dodgers in first place.
I caught the game yesterday with L.A. and San Diego. L.A. squeaked the win out 5-2. Hernandez hit a 3-run homer to keep things going. Great pitching matchup. It was good for a while, and you could tell the class of these teams. San Diego's has so much young talent. It's hard to think that they won't be able to challenge. I mean, they should. I just love it. I like the way they have to play each other, beat each other up. With that being said, you got Arizona 6.5 back. They got their own pitching problems and their own hitting problems. So you can't play 34 and 34. 500 may get you something in another division, but not in this division. These 3 above them are playing great. So Arizona, they got Merrill Kelly. I think is a significant person here for trade. I know they need more pitching, but I don't know why they would give up Merrill Kelly. But I think that Flatt is doing a good job. Zach Gallen is hanging in there. He's not himself either. So if Arizona's going to challenge, they're going to have to do it with pitching.
Well, and that's the thing in this division. There is so much talent when it comes to baseball in general. Not just talking about divisionally. Some of these divisions you can get away with being a 500 team, being just above 500. Remember the NL East in recent history, the teams were so bad. It was like, who's going to come out of this thing because somebody's got to win it. And now, the Mets have obviously improved. The Phillies are doing their thing. But when we look at what's to come here for the NL West, which I love, PJ, with the Giants facing the Rockies, if they win that game today, like I said, they will edge closer to the Dodgers. And they will be right on par with the Dodgers because they'll both be 41 and 28. Then guess what happens? With 2 teams, so let's say if the Giants beat if the Giants beat the Rockies today, then they're both 41 and 28, them and the Dodgers. And then guess what happens? The Dodgers will host the Giants for a series. So we will actually see within the next few days, if the Giants win and are both 41-28, they will have the same record going into Friday the 13th, facing off against each other in their series, and the Giants can actually take the division head-to-head with the Dodgers because that's the next series they have. So please make sure, baseball fans, you pay very close attention to the West Coast, because if the Giants win today, the records are the same, and then they face each other. Perfect timing, PJ, when it comes to the standings.
True. It wasn't so long ago that we were talking about the Dodgers going to just sweep the series. They're going to get more wins than they did last year. They were the most powerful team in baseball, and look what happens. Yeah. They lose 4 starting pitchers, and now they're barely even playing 500 ball in the last 20 games. So it's pitching and defense, Daniel. Pitching and defense.
Yep, and we'll see that series between the Dodgers and the Giants Friday the 13th at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time on Major League Baseball Network in San Diego again, and then they'll play Washington and Colorado, give themselves a little break. And this is the thing. After the Dodgers play San Francisco and San Diego, they play Washington, Colorado, Kansas City, and Chicago. And so of those 4 series, you're talking about Washington, who's not terrible, Colorado, who's awful, and Chicago, who's a little less awful than Colorado. So if the Dodgers end up licking their wounds after these next 2 series, they're going to have 3 out of 4 series that you would imagine they will win.
That's true. Very well said. Exactly.
So, PJ and I are going to take a step aside. PJ and I could beat the Rockies right now. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll be back inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios here on Wake Up Call to get to a poll that I have. that I'm going to
good.
tell PJ about that he does not know about. And it's been ramping up as the days have gone by. The fans of both of these teams, well, they're talking to each other, and they're doing it on Wake Up Call. We'll find out what they're saying right after this.
I can't wait.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Make sure you get out there today for sales and service. Let them know the DT sent you, and go and find your next ride at Great Lakes Honda City. And you can check out more at greatlakeshondacity.com. Well, I promised you before the break here that we're going to talk about a poll that I put up. And so I put this up on all of our social media, and I want to get to some of the thoughts that y'all have been having about this. So I'm going to jump right into it because many of you have responded. I appreciate the responses, and I'm excited to share these with you. So I said, who is the better New York-based team right now in baseball? Who is the better New York-based team right now in the 2025 Major League Baseball season? A, the New York Mets, or B, the Yankees? We got a bunch of responses, and I'm going to read them off to you right now. James B. said, M-E-T-S, Mets, Mets, Mets. Why?
Mhm.
Because they only have a judge, and we have a polar bear, and there's a picture of a polar bear for Pete Alonso, because that's his nickname.
That's great. That's cool. That's clever.
So we got that. Daniel M. said, simple answer, who has the better record to date? That would be the Mets. And then Raheem M. said Mets, and Chris apparently didn't like it, laughed at him. Atwood Blair said the Maths as always, so I picking the Mets. And then Eddie B. said Yankees, and he said the Yankees by reminding everyone that they have 27 championships. So
That's right.
he put that up. Lysander L. said Mets. And this guy, Chris, anytime anybody picked the Mets, just went out there after everybody. Gal G said, fantastic Mets. Marilyn O said, no doubt the Mets. Tony M said, the Mets are always better, period. Jerry Mets, I wonder who he picked. So he said, no doubt the New York Mets. Earl C said Yankees, so I got a Yankee vote in there. Lewis F said Mets. Maureen said the Mets. Roberta said the Mets. Padilla said Yankees will always be great. We'll see when it counts, playoff time. Nancy C said the Mets. Dolores W said the Yankees. Gonzalez F said the Yankees. He did not say the Yankees. He put the Yankees logo, and he put the Yankees are the little bro to the Mets. Interesting with that. You got to look at that one closer. You think that he picked the Yankees, but he did not. Chrissy L picked the Mets. Robin said, the Mets are in first place now. Julio L said, I know Yankees never left first place, so they put them there. Richard M said the Mets. Dylan C said the Mets. Dave S said, let's go Mets. Kevin D said Mets. Breeze N said Yankees. Timothy K said 27-2 since 1986. So he's obviously picking the Yankees. Travis G said the Mets. And then Jeannie W, she has a GIF of the Yankees logo. She picked the Yankees. Zeta R picked the Yankees. Linda C picked the Yankees. Todd B picked the Mets. Jeffrey M picked the Mets. Raymond A picked the Yankees. Adam Lemerise, who's been on the show with me here, he said the Mets, and he said Chris Heidel would agree with me, who's also been on the show because he's a Mets fan. Michael F picked the Mets. Ivan A picked the Mets. said, but let's see in the postseason. Eric R. said, as the great Bill Parcells would say, you are what your record says you are. So I guess he's picking the Mets right now because they have the better record. Tony V said, both. I love New York. Bullseye. And then Umberto A. said, Mets by far, not even a conversation. And Craig K. said, always the Yankees. Brian M. said the Yankees. And Lester P. said the Mets. So we got some more Yankees down the pipeline as I was reading these off, but the majority of them, PJ, it's clear to see, have picked the Mets. What do you think?
Well, it's a good poll. You know, that's a good question. I mean, you're going to put me on the spot right here, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say the Yankees.
Okay.
I think the Yankees can score more runs. They have better position players. They have a couple of starters that are lights out. They may be able to ride Max Fried the whole way. Soto isn't playing baseball. I don't know what his problem is for the Mets. Alonso can't continue to do what he's doing by himself. They have good players, but not. I think the one player that stands out for me for the Yankees that does so much, and I mentioned this a couple of years ago because he was my favorite player for the Yankees, is DJ LeMahieu. Let me remind you, Lee LeMahieu played for the Rockies, folks. That's scary. He also won 2 batting titles with the Rockies.
Yeah.
And he flipped over to the Yankees. He got hurt a little bit, but he's playing good now. I think the middle of the infield with Volpe, a terrific young shortstop, and D. LeMahieu at second base, they're the key. You got to be strong up the middle. And I think the Yankees are. I'm going to stay with the Yankees.
Yeah, well, I will say this. Thank goodness the Yankees made a move for Max Fried, right? Because this was before Garrett Cole and all these issues came down the pipeline. Max Fried has started in 14 games this season, and in the quality starts, the ones that count for a win or a loss for him, he has 10 of those 14. He's 9-1 in his 10 games. And he has pitched in 88 innings in those games. And I know PJ is probably going to woof about that because a pitcher should be pitching. And, we've seen pitchers pitch 100 times, 90 times in one game. He's pitched 88 times, he's been in 88 innings, I should say, innings pitched. So we see how many pitches we'll see in a game and then how many innings he's done up to this point. So 88 innings, 9-1 is his record. If he can get out of those things quickly, then it's not as many pitches. But looking at what he's done, 6 home runs off of him, 18 earned runs off of him, 64 hits off of him, only 18 walks, and he has 81 Ks in 81 innings pitched. So a shout out to Max Fried, who has been saving these Yankees, as well as Carlos Rodon, who has done a good job as well in the absence of Garrett Cole and some other things that have gone on with the Yankees. So if I'm not going to ask you a question, PJ, that I'm not going to answer over here. So, on my side of it, I respect what the Mets are doing. I respect the work that they put in. I want to hope the best for them. I want to see them be a team that can make it to the World Series. I'd love to see a Subway Series, World Series. I want to go. One of my bucket list things is to go to a Subway Series in my lifetime. So, Francisco Lindor, he's out there putting his work in, 14 home runs. Pete Alonso's got 17. Soto's got 13 home runs. Nimmo's got 12 home runs at this point. And then as far as RBIs, Pete Alonso leading the way with 63. The closest to him is Lindor with 38, followed by 36 by Nimmo and 35 by Soto. So of those 4 guys, I know people want to see more from Soto, but of those 4 guys, that's where your offense is running through. Pitching-wise for the New York Mets, we take a look at their pitching, and David Peterson, 79.2 innings pitched. He is 5-2. Clay Holmes is 7-3. Kodai Senga is 6-3 for the young gun. So they are doing some good things. Tyler McGill, he's gotten involved as well. He's 5-4. And I always say, Tyler McGill, make sure that you keep doing well because I have his rookie card. Now I have his patch thanks to my deal that I made with my big brother Joey.
Right.
Looking at both of these teams, I want to say the Mets have more right now. health-wise. And I hope that both teams stay healthy and that the players that need to get healthy and stay healthy. The Mets in this moment, I think, are better. But when I look at the grand scheme of this season, the Yankees are the ones that are better in the postseason, and they're the ones that have longevity. So I'm going to lean a hair toward the Yankees, but I really hope that the Mets can keep this thing going, because it seems like whenever they're doing something really good, it starts to shake, and I'm just hoping that they can find some stability this season.
Cool. Let me read something here. There's a pun that I follow a lot online. It's eight key trade deadline questions. Okay. Sellers, trade, or more. Which teams are likely sellers? Well, we can reason that out by saying the poor teams are. We can say, I don't think the Rockies are involved in that because there's no one the Rockies have that anyone wants. At the White Sox, there's Robert, the Marlins, Nationals, Athletics, and Pirates appear headed to a seller's path. Now, there was conjecture yesterday about putting Paul Skeens up for a trade.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Pittsburgh, you got a future Hall of Famer, McCutchen, playing for you and guiding the young team. You don't throw that kind of stuff out there. No one's going to pick up Paul Skeens because he's going to be too expensive, and he's just a kid still. I don't go for that. Now, who are likely buyers? Well, then we can reason that the teams on top that need something would be buyers. We got the Yankees, the Tigers, the Astros, Mets, Phillies, Cubs, and Dodgers are leading the way. There could be more added to that, but that's obvious. The Dodgers are in really serious trouble with starting pitching right now, and I think that's going to. Which teams fall in the middle? We don't really care about that.
Well, and I can tell you this, PJ. If we look at the Dodgers, if they make any type of move toward Paul Skeens, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're printing money in L.A. because I'm looking at the amount of money that the Dodgers out of his money, which is a good thing here. But looking at these contracts that are up here, I want to do the contract by year here because I don't want to do it. They're showing me the contract in and of its entirety. So I want to look at the Dodger contracts by year. So just looking at 2025 and seeing what this payroll looks like for the Dodgers because it's insane. It's absolutely insane. So I'm gonna pick it up right now and tell you what it is if they were to make a move for a pitcher, a Skeens or somebody. Now, Shohei Ohtani, his salary this year, $28.2 million. Now, there's a luxury tax on each of these guys as well, but we're looking at Mookie Betts, 26+ million. Yamamoto, 18.3 million. Freddie Freeman, 22.7 million. Hernandez is at 13.3 million. Conforto is at 17 million. Tanner Scott is at 12.8 million. Tommy Edmonds at 8.4 million. Kirby Yates is at 13 million. Will Smith is just under 13 million. Max Muncy is 14.5 million. Clayton Kershaw is 7.5 million. Enrique Hernandez is at 6.5 million. Kopech is at 5.2 million. And then there's a bunch of other guys here that are within this. I mean, most of their contracts are over $1 million. They only have a few that are under $1 million. PJ, if the Dodgers make a move for anyone, I mean, this is how I look at it. There's two ways I look at this. The Dodgers have overtaken the Yankees when it comes to being willing to pay and try and put together a championship caliber team. Secondly, the California state debt, in my opinion, would be gone if three of these guys gave up their salary this year.
That's good. That's good. That's real good. There's something. We're talking about the Orioles again. You know how disappointed I am with them.
Yeah.
And I caught them last night. Also, I caught them last night playing the Tigers. Zach Eflin threw a hell of a game. Why would the Orioles want to trade Zach Eflin? That's what someone's saying right here. Look, they have 5 really super superstars in their lineup. The shortstop, the left fielder, the first baseman. These guys are all super. Rushman and the rest of these guys. But Zach Elf is the one that holds it together. Now, if Baltimore wants to spit the bit, throw in the towel, whatever you want to say, if they want to do that, to build again, rebuild again, whatever, then they're going to put Zach Elfin out there. Now, Zach Elfin is a quality pitcher. And if someone like the Dodgers says, well, we could, what the hell? What's another $20 million, right, Daniel, to the Dodgers? Nothing. So they pick up a guy like Zach Elfin, and nothing wrong with that. But they always got a bunch of stuff that they're dangling out there. Obviously, there's players that are in a contract year, and these are really good players too. We got Cedric Mullins, who plays center field for them, a great center field. Ryan O'Hearn is one of their leading hitters, and Raymond Laureano are all stated to become free agents after the season. So there you go, right there. I mean, you got three guys. If you want to pay them, give them up for a couple of minor leaguers or something like that. I mean, what else can you do? Sugano, Mullins, and O'Hearn would all help a number of contenders should they get moved, and put Elfin in there too. I think right now that Baltimore realizes they made a mistake by getting rid of their manager, and that that the general manager and the ownership, they think they have a better team than they actually have. And well, what can you say? I mean, they're not playing very well. So if you want to move some important pieces, guys like Mullins, O'Hearn, and Elfin can go.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and like you said, you brought up the Orioles and what's going on with them. They obviously need help with the pitching, and to be in a situation where they could be making, the Dodgers could make another move, as we said. We're talking about what's going on with the Dodgers, right? And how much money they spend. Well, the luxury tax in Major League Baseball is formerly known as the competitive balance tax, the CBT. It's a system designed to regulate team spending. It's not a hard salary cap, but it is a tax levied on teams that exceed a predetermined payroll threshold. The threshold is adjusted annually, and the tax rate increased based on the number of consecutive years a team exceeds the threshold. Now, threshold means teams are assessed a tax if their payroll exceeds a specific dollar amount set annually by Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Union. The tax rate is a percentage of the amount over the threshold. It starts at 20% for the first year that you go over as a franchise, 30% for the second consecutive year, and 50% for the third consecutive year, 50% or more. And 50% for the third consecutive year or more as you continue to go forward. The purpose for the luxury tax is to maintain competitive balance among teams, preventing big market teams with higher incomes from dominating teams with expensive contracts. Well, that's not working with the Dodgers. They are paying a luxury tax. They don't seem to care. I can't imagine them getting rid of a bunch of these guys that they're paying the tax with. And so the purpose of the tax is to give competitive balance. And when it comes to LA, PJ, I do not think they care. I was looking at their luxury tax here in their contracts. So if you go over, you pay 20% first year, 30% for the second consecutive year, 50% luxury tax. Think about that. 50%, not 5% increase, a 50% luxury tax if you go over for the third consecutive year or more. It doesn't look like the Dodgers care. So this CBT, this luxury tax, was put in Major League Baseball to not create a cap, but to help create competitive balance. I don't think it's working.
You're right. And that goes to show you what kind of cable contract they got over there in LA. They almost sell out every home game they have. They sell a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers and sodas and beers. Their parking is probably $1 million to park your car. So it's not it's a lot of money, and there's ancillary income that these people make that we don't know about. So
yeah,
here's a question that we could talk about.
Yeah.
And it's a good one because we break balls all the time about it. The Rockies appear to be surefire sellers, but who do they have to sell? When you look about it, it's tough to imagine other clubs itching to acquire much of the roster of the 9-50 Rockies. They're off to a historically bad start. Colorado has yet to win a series this season, and their 9 wins are 6 fewer than the 24 White Sox, who lost 121 games that season. There are a few potential trade candidates in Colorado. However, I don't understand this, but let's see. Man is not off to a great start. 6 homers, 17 RBIs.
Right now, PJ, Hunter Goodman, he's their best 289 he's batting. He's the only person on the Rockies to have double-digit home runs through almost 70 games this season. Hunter Goodman has 11 home runs, 39 RBIs. This is how crazy this is, PJ. So I would imagine if anybody's looking at offense and willing to make a trade with the Rockies, they're going after Hunter Goodman. Let me tell you why. Who leads the Rockies in batting average? Hunter Goodman. Who leads them in home runs? Hunter Goodman. Who leads them in RBIs? Hunter Goodman. Who leads them in on-base percentage? Hunter Goodman. Who leads them in hits? You guessed it, Hunter Goodman. How about this, PJ? His on-base percentage, some guys have an on-base percentage of 89%, 90%, 70-something%. The on-base percentage for Hunter Goodman is the best on the team, 33%.
Oh, my goodness, that's awful. They also have a pitcher named German Marquez. He's 1-7 with a 7.13 ERA. Although he's been very good. How can you say that if you're looking at that? Jake Berg is having a fantastic season, 1.60 ERA, 42 strikeouts in 33 innings. And Seth Havlicek has a triple-digit fastball and a 58% ground ball rate, ranking in a 49th percentile. These are foo-foo numbers, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure the teams are going over these things. They don't care that Jermaine's got a 1-7 record. He's a good pitcher. He's on a poor team. But if you have a lower ERA with a poor team, it'd be better for you. But I don't think he's going anywhere. It says, will the Pirates really trade Paul Skeens? No.
Well, and that's the thing, you know, the Pirates have trade bait that's on a good. They have trade bait that's on a team that's not performing. The Rockies don't really have trade bait on a team that's not performing. Kyle Freeland is their best pitcher ERA, which is 5.13. So 5.13 for Freeland. He has 57 strikeouts this season and only 15 bases on balls, which that's good, but 97 hits against him. And so, I mean, you look at, and Marquez is the best pitcher in wins on the Rockies. How many wins does he have, PJ? 2.
1.
This season.
2.
Since he's got 2.
Well, they got to win last night.
Yeah. So you take a look at this and you say to yourself, the Rockies are floundering. They're the worst team in baseball. They may go down as one of the worst teams ever in the history of Major League Baseball in a season, which I hope they don't. But they really don't have the trade bait, where there's teams like Pittsburgh that absolutely have the trade bait to get a bunch for him, to get so many things that can come with it. Prospects. So, I mean, the future of the Pirates could come from trading away Paul Skeens, or the future of the Pirates could be keeping Paul Skeens. If I'm the Pirates, I want to keep him, but I would at least listen to offers to see how much of the house somebody's willing to put out there for me to give up just one player. But like you said with the story, the Colorado Rockies, what can they possibly entice you with? A guy who has 2 wins as a pitcher, a guy who has a 5.13 ERA, or the fact that their leader in every category on their team is Hunter Goodman, and beyond him, there's not much to write home about, and everybody besides Hunter Goodman has an on-base percentage of under 33%. I mean, what could the Rockies possibly trade for and give up right now? What value do they have? There's teams like the Orioles that somebody could come and make them offers. The Pirates, somebody could come and make them offers. But what can you possibly do in Colorado besides spend money? I don't see any place where they're going to be able to trade, because what do they have in capital to give another team? That's the question.
They don't have anything. You're right. Let me show you one other thing before I can scoot out of here.
Yep.
There's one pitcher that's out there that could be traded from the Marlins, and that's Sandy Alcantara. We know he's tough. He was a Cy Young Award winner. However, he had Tommy John surgery. and there the lights fly up. Oh, there's a warning lights all over the place. Alcantara. However, he's only 2-4 this year with an 8.42 ERA. But teams that don't care about that because they know the real Sandy Alcantara is not far from pitching good baseball. I look for Alcantara to land with one of the big teams, and I predict it'll go with the Dodgers.
We'll see. They don't care about that luxury tax. Willing to keep on paying it. PJ, want to let you know that today, one of my favorite cities in the world has somebody listening and watching us. Shout out to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So,
all right, good job.
And it's the first place that I ever internationally did a broadcast when I broadcasted live from Toronto, Ontario, Canada over 8 years ago. So shout out to the city of my Raptors and shout out to the beautiful Canada right above us here in the wonderful United States of America. PJ, as always, I appreciate your time. I look forward to talking with you soon. And my best to you and MT, Joey, Diana, and the gang. And I'll see you soon.
Out of here.
See you.
Bye-bye.
See you. And coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. We've talked baseball in hour one. You continue to vote, which on Facebook, you can vote right now. You heard me read off the votes that we have here, some of the votes that we had coming in. You heard me read those off, and you can feel free to vote right now yourselves by going to Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. All you have to do is go to any one of those outlets, click follow, and make sure that you vote in our poll of which New York-based team do you consider to be the best right now. Right now is the key phrase here. Right now in the 2025 Major League Baseball season, who do you consider to be a better team? The Yankees or the Mets? And right now, the majority of the votes have come in on the side of the Mets. I would love to get your vote today. Go to Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, and if you go through our timeline, you'll see the Yankees and Mets logo, and that's the one that you will be responding to. On X, the former Twitter, at Call DT, there's a poll you can literally click, Yankees or Mets. And on Instagram, you will see the same picture you see on Facebook at Wake Up Call _DT, so make sure you vote there. I just put up another poll while PJ and I were discussing. It says, do you believe the Pittsburgh Pirates will move pitcher Paul Skeens by the 2025 Major League Baseball trade deadline? Early voting said 100% no. Then it was 50-50. Now it's 75-25 the other way. 75% of you believe that the Pittsburgh Pirates will move pitcher Paul Skeens by the 2025 Major League Baseball trade deadline. So it'll be interesting to see if Skeens stays or if he goes from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pittsburgh Pirates got themselves a gem. But the thing is, they didn't really perform last year. They're not performing this year. So are they going to look to move Skeens and build toward their future? Or are they going to build around Skeens as their future? That is the question. We'll take a step aside here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Plenty coming up, including our Game 3 conversation with Mr. Dave Pasiak, coming off of the Pacers' victory at home over the Thunder 116-107 to take a 2-1 series lead in the NBA Finals. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York, to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 07, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being with us. inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You can go to greatlakeshondacity.com to get more information today and get a sneak peek of their vehicles and what they have in their inventory that you can bring home and drive away off the lot today. So make sure you get in touch with Great Lakes Honda City. Let them know that DT sent you. And thanks to Great Lakes Honda City for serving my family for so many years and me for over a decade, my dad as well, and my mom also has gone out to Great Lakes Honda City, and so much appreciation to my family, and cannot thank you enough for how you've treated each of us and just how you've been with us. So many, many thanks to each and every single one at Great Lakes Honda City who's putting in the work that you're putting in, doing the things that you do to be who you are. We really do appreciate you so very much. With that being said, in just a couple minutes, Dave Pasiak's going to be joining me to speak on Game 3 in the NBA Finals. Game 3 was won by the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers came back in the game and found their way to a victory. They had to come back a couple times, mind you, and the Indiana Pacers in this matchup, I do want to make a note that right by the 9-minute mark of the second quarter in Game 3, the Pacers took their first lead of the game, 37-36. They were down by as many as 9 in the first half prior to. So it's kind of funny how that works out. Down by as many as 9, and then around the 9-minute mark of the second quarter, that's when they took their first lead, 37-36. Both teams fought back and forth and responded to one another, did some great things on each side, and ultimately the Pacers were able to close the gap in that fourth quarter and gain the victory and give themselves a 2-1 lead in the first game back at the Pacers home court in 25 years in the postseason. So they got their first victory on their floor in the postseason in 25 years, which is insane. Quarter of a century. I didn't even think it was that long. I'm like, really? 25 years since the Pacers won at home in a playoff game? Crazy. But a congratulations to the Pacers and much respect. So really amazing to see them do the work that they did and to get the victory that they were able to come away with in this matchup. So first playoff game at home in 25 years, defeating the Oklahoma City Thunder 116-107, taking a 2-1 lead in the 2024-25 NBA Finals. Yeah. So Dave is here with us in the queue. We're going to bring in Mr. Pasiak for DT and DP is what we call it here on the show. And Dave joining me to speak on the NBA Finals as we continue the conversation here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Always appreciate having Dave on the broadcast. So we are here inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios with Mr. Pasiak to talk about Game 3 in this series as the Pacers have taken a 2-1 series lead. First home playoff victory. 25 years these fans have waited to see this moment on their floor. And Dave, the Pacers did it by truly pacing themselves through this game and taking shots when they needed to. How are you this morning?
Doing great, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And Dave, I got to say, that was one of my favorite games that I've watched in a while in the NBA. The back and forth, the seesaw, the pound for pound. I know you said that some people in the media, not you or me, would make comments about this series and say, well, this is boring because it's two small market teams. You got Indiana and you have Oklahoma City. Who really cares about watching this finals? It's not the Lakers. It's not the Knicks and yada, 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 and so on and so forth. But the reality of the fact is these are two teams that seem to be able to respond to each other, and they seem to be pretty evenly ebb and flow back and forth with each other. And I thought Game 3 was a great indicator of it. And honestly, none of these games have been too crazy on one side or the other side. I think this has been a wonderful series, and I thought yesterday was an incredible game to watch, even for people that maybe aren't a fan of either team.
Yeah, what did Maximus say in Gladiator? Are you not entertained?
Amen.
But um, yeah, it's a really fun watch. And like we talked about before, I think for basketball fans, just a fan of the sport. Um, it's a fun watch, it's a compelling watch, interesting watch. I think that the media market thing and TV ratings and all that, um, that's a narrative for sports analysts and media analysts to talk about. The league's not hurting. They're entering a new media agreement next year, diversifying their platform and everything. Uh, I think what the league is looking to get out of this, um, whoever wins the series, I think if Oklahoma City wins, it's Gilgeous-Alexander. If Indiana wins, it's Halliburton.
Yeah.
They have the potential to elevate themselves into that next stratosphere, which happens when you become a champion. All right. And Gilgeous-Alexander, he became an MVP, and he's just starting to emerge on that elite level. Halliburton, if he leads the Pacers to a title, he'll kind of elevate himself to that level. Read an interesting thing earlier this morning about how, those guys are not on the level in terms of public perception of like a LeBron or a Curry or a Durant, anybody like that.
Yeah.
But LeBron's first finals appearance, which was I think in '07, that was one of the lowest rated finals in history too, especially the first couple of games before LeBron had really um, cemented himself at the pinnacle of the sport. So um, I think from a league standpoint, they would love to see like an SGA or a Halliburton kind of elevate their brand to where um, they're talked about at the same plane. But in terms of the basketball itself, though, it's been fantastic. Both teams play a fun style. You look at it, and on the one hand, you say, Oklahoma City should be the better team, but Indiana has just found a way at the end of close games, time and time again in the playoffs. The Thunder had been a great fourth quarter team. They're like plus 12 in the fourth quarter, the whole going into the finals. And yet Indiana has won every fourth quarter, even in the game they got smacked. Um, so I think that is creating a compelling series.
Yeah, I mean it's been awesome, and you bring up the point of like when they talk about, oh, this isn't going to be highly watched or this isn't going to be big. I mean, when Cleveland, because you think about it, when Cleveland made it with LeBron, when they go to the NBA Finals, they got swept. I mean, believe by the Spurs, it was like, okay, what is, you know what I mean? Is Cleveland the place that so many people so anxiously wanted to watch? And I can't stand the conversation. There's a few things I'm taking from what you said, Dave, but I'm going to start here. I'm not one of those media people, as you know, that likes to create something out of nothing. I go where there is substance. If I'm going to have an opinion, I want to have facts behind that opinion. I want to have bullet points that can obviously prove what I'm trying to say. And this whole market BS, I mean, that plays into games being fixed, in my opinion. That plays into series being fixed. It plays into sports being nothing more than a theatrical performance of an outcome that we already know. That's what that argument is to me. When I would hear, oh, the Spurs are the most boring team in the NBA. The more the Spurs make it to the NBA Finals with Tim Duncan, the more people sleep through the NBA Finals. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, if I'm winning multiple championships and I'm going to the NBA Finals series more often than not, I would be happily boring if I'm Manu Ginobili or Tony Parker or Pop or Tim Duncan or any of the guys out there. I go ahead and color me boring if I'm going to the NBA Finals and I'm going to be at the top of the mountain at the end of most years. This conversation I remember hearing back then. I remember hearing, why would you want this team to make it? It's not good for the NBA. It's not good for the market. You hear it with the NFL. You hear it with Major League Baseball. Oh, it wasn't good 2 years ago for the Diamondbacks to make it because they're out in Arizona. And what's the market out there in Phoenix for us? And it doesn't really make sense. Texas Rangers, Arizona Diamond. And whenever I hear it, Dave, I feel like I'm hearing people begging for the fix to be in. Because if it's all about having top TV market cities, but you don't want things to be staged and fake, those media people will come out and call something staged and attack it, but then they're almost begging for it to be staged by saying that it's all about the market, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is true, but I think there's always been, and it's weird, there's always been like this kind of cloud about how NBA in particular, but also baseball to an extent, and maybe the NFL to a little bit lesser extent, because just, the NFL is just this behemoth. But there's always been this like little undercurrent about how the league would like to see them, the major market teams, and the league would like, to see the high profile stars and the most marketable stars. And, from a business perspective, you kind of understand, why people would come to that conclusion. But I think the reality is, and the NBA has probably done it as well as any league, that, and part of this is, I mean, you've got five guys on the floor at any time. So I think the NBA started under David Stern and it's kind of continued up to today because there's five players on the floor, because they're not under a helmet or in pads, and the fans and the camera right on top of the court. I think you can be a star and a marketable force in the NBA, probably regardless of market size, more than most any other sport. So, I think it ends up being like a discussion point for the talking heads and everything. But I think, the unfortunate thing is that just fans of basketball, if you don't have an attachment to the star player, or, the larger market teams are going to naturally have a larger regional and national following in most cases. Then maybe you're not tuning in yet. But I think that the thing is, if this series, I mean, if it goes six, definitely if it goes seven, I mean, 7 game series in the NBA is not that, it doesn't occur that often. I think the last one was when LeBron and the Cavs, or LeBron and the Heat beat the Warriors. Or I'm sorry, LeBron and the Cavs beat the Curry Warriors, which was what, 11 years ago, 10 years ago. So I think that, historically in any sport, as the series gets longer, the interest grows.
Yeah.
I think if this series continues to extend and it goes six, definitely if it goes seven, I think you'll see the numbers, the viewership rise, and the attention of the national sporting media is going to continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, this is how I look at it in business. If I'm overseeing the NBA or any professional league, when it says it's better, when people argue it's better for the league to have major market teams in the finals, I would argue the opposite. I would argue and say it's better in the NFL for Green Bay to go. I would say it's better right now for the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, a Toronto Raptors team, to go. I would say in Major League Baseball, it's better for the Arizona and the Milwaukee Brewers. It's better for those teams to go than a Miami Marlin. Because the reality is, Dave, if I'm looking at my portfolio of teams, and in the NFL we have 32, in the NBA we have 30, and in Major League Baseball we have 30, if I have smaller markets going to the end, that's more money for them. That's more going into them. That's more eyes on them. So if I'm overseeing a league, I know LA is going to survive. I know Miami is going to survive. I know New York City is going to survive. I know a lot of places in Texas are going to survive. So for me personally, and the Philadelphias are going to survive. So I would go the other route and say, if I'm the NBA, the NFL, MLB, whoever, if I'm overseeing that league and the smaller market teams are in, that's better for our overall portfolio because there's more money going into those places right now because they've made it the longest than typically goes into those places. So the places that already have buku bucks like the LAs and the New Yorks and the Phillies of the world, they're going to have their money no matter what. If I can get more money into Indiana and I can get more money into Oklahoma City, better for the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point is well taken. And I think the other place where it helps the league, and it helps the league in that it gives every franchise hope. Um, so if you can compete nationally and you're in the 47th market in Oklahoma City or the 25th market in Indianapolis, that gives hope for, the Sacramentos of the world, the smaller market, the San Antonios of the world and whatnot. So I think that's definitely healthy for the league. I think the one thing that, the NBA, professional sport, their business model in the name of parity.
Yeah.
So everybody does have a shot from year to year. And I think the one thing that does hold up a little bit when you look at the NBA, this will be like the sixth champion in 6 years this year, six different champion. I think historically, when the league has been at its most popular, there was the one or two dominant franchises for a period of time, whether it be going back to like, the Celtics of the 60s or the Bird Magic, rivalry, when they were both coming through, Celtics Lakers or the Bad Boy Pistons or the Jordan Bulls or the Curry Warriors. LeBron with the Heat and the Cavs. LeBron was more of a personal thing, but he was there every year. So I think that history shows us that when there are familiar teams that have been, kind of climbed the mountain and endured the struggle and then are at the top of the mountain for a period of time, leagues tend to, especially the NBA, tend to be peaks in popularity. Whereas when you go through like more of the periods of parity, which I think are good for the whole league because everybody feels like, if you do the right thing in a draft, you make some good front office moves, we can get ourselves into that championship conversation. I think it's good for the league, but I think in terms of like the casual sports fan, maybe it doesn't draw them in as quickly as, when there's a really recognizable team, really recognizable. I mean, you look at the Patriots in the NFL, Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers in baseball, those kinds of things. I think those, when there's the really recognizable faces, that tends to draw in the casual fan. But I think the basketball fan really has to appreciate, the fact that everybody has a shot and, the fact that we're getting two small market teams give us a really entertaining series.
Yeah. And the thing to me is, if these are the two best teams that got there, I don't want to hear anything. I mean, that's the thing that annoys me more than anything is when I hear that conversation, Dave, about, these teams shouldn't have made it. It's not good for the sport. It's not good for this. That's who made it. That's who got through, right? A couple of years ago, nobody was going to beat the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks swept them. Nobody's going to beat the Phillies. The Diamondbacks beat them too. So, and so you take out LA and you take out Philly and you send everybody out to Phoenix, Arizona. Oh, well, I don't think that that's good for baseball. Well, they beat the teams ahead of them. And if they beat, and I've been arguing this since San Antonio. I've been arguing this whole, like, it's boring. Who wants to see it? These are the teams that made it. And with all due respect, it's reignited my love for Reggie Miller watching the Pacers in this. I loved seeing him grab Halliburton and give him a big hug after the game. I thought that was amazing. It's reignited the fact that I bought a Thunder shirt when they were the worst team in the NBA. And I said to my mom, get me a Thunder shirt. She said, what shirt do you want from the NBA store in New York City? I said, I want a Thunder shirt. Even though I'm a Raptor fan, I want a Thunder shirt because even if I'm the only one wearing it, I'm going to support the worst team in basketball. Because I am. Because I'm used to being the redheaded stepchild, chip on my shoulder. So give me Oklahoma City. And now look at Oklahoma City on the top. If I break out that T-shirt is not a day old. That T-shirt is over a decade old that I've had that Oklahoma City T-shirt. So when I look at this, and we look at the past decade, Dave, we look at, let's go back to 2015-16 season. Cleveland defeats Golden State. and that was the 7-game series you were talking about, 4-3. So they defeat Golden State. Cleveland, not a major market, not a major, oh my goodness, hold the presses type of thing. Then Golden State wins over Cleveland twice. Golden State's in San Francisco. Okay. Then Toronto beats Golden State. Toronto doesn't get the respect that it deserves. They say that nobody watches. They say it's a hockey town, yet they're in the top half when it comes to attendance. They have been in years past. I don't know where it stands right now. I'd have to look that up with them making the moves the last 2 years. But the Toronto Raptors won in 2018-19, not considered a major market, not considered to be great for basketball, like some people said, quote unquote, not me. Then the Lakers and the Heat. You got LA and Miami, so there's 2 major markets. Then Milwaukee takes down Phoenix. That's like a this year, Dave. People saying, well, Milwaukee and Phoenix, that's not going to bring home the numbers. Good series, went 6 games. Golden State, Boston, those are 2 big market cities, San Francisco and Boston. Then you have Denver over Miami, Denver winning 4-1. Denver not the biggest market. And then Boston over Dallas, 4-1 last year. And I would argue that. A lot of people know Dallas and a lot of people know Boston, but I thought that was boring last year, Dave, because outside of, seeing Luka Doncic fall on the ground a lot, that really wasn't a good series at all. I mean, Boston took that so easily in 5 games, probably could have swept them. And I mean, last year is forgettable to me. This year is exciting. So in my opinion, the whole last decade, we've seen major non-big market franchises win championships. And I say kudos to the Milwaukee Bucks, who stayed their course and went after, and when they kept getting close and where the number 1 seed got knocked out, they found a way to rise against a Phoenix team that was really good, in my opinion. Toronto beat the big bad wolf in Golden State. And so, I mean, and then Denver beating the Miami Heat with the Denver Nuggets. They were a team that had a lot with Carmelo Anthony, and then they lose Carmelo to the Knicks. And they're kind of in this place of where are they going to be and how are they going to position themselves for the future. They found their way back up the mountain, and they did it in, I think, great timing, because teams that are kind of where they were and were effective, if they lose an all-star like that and the team kind of breaks apart, you figure they're not going to have much to write home about. Denver found a way. So honestly, in the last decade, I would say that there's a lot of excitement in watching these quote-unquote non-big market franchises do what they're doing. And I would say that this series is a lot better than last year, Dave, where it just felt like Boston was head and shoulders above Dallas when they got to play each other.
Yeah, I think there's 2 different things you got to separate. There's like whether it's boring and whether it's captivating to the casual sports fan. And I think those are 2 different things.
Yeah.
The basketball fan is going to be enjoying this year's series way more than last year's series, because last year, like you said, the Celtics and the Mavs turnout wasn't really that interesting of a finals from a basketball standpoint.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's Celtics and Mavs and 2 top 5 markets, and so I think that grabs more casual sports fans because it's the Celtics and because Luka's involved and whatnot. So I think that's going to grab the casual sports fan sooner or more easily than a series this year between the Thunder and the Pacers. And I think the biggest thing with this series, if this goes 6 or 7 games, by the time we get to game 7, it will have captured a good segment of the casual sports fan.
Yeah.
Historically, the ratings are going to go up, as the deeper a series goes and the more competitive a series goes, regardless of who's involved. So I think that, will it end up being as watched as if it were Lakers Celtics? No, but it will grow. And I think the ratings by the time we get to game 6 and game 7, I think will be solid. And I think, the casual sports fan will be taking note when it gets to that point.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point. Is it something that's going to captivate you versus is it boring, right? And the captivating thing about Dallas and Boston going in, because you're absolutely right, Dallas and Boston going in, I was excited. but then the series was boring when you're watching it. And then in the case of Indiana, Oklahoma City, I got excited. I got excited for it. I got excited for game 3. Honestly, Dave, this is how it works, and this is why you and I have to talk more. I loved the NBA when I was a kid because I got spoiled. I had Karl Malone, John Stockton, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, David Robinson, Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon, Reggie Miller, Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, so on and so forth. I mean, I was outrageously spoiled watching basketball as a kid. I Magic Johnson. So, and then obviously young, I was watching Kobe Bryant. So I have been very, very much spoiled to those times. And I know that people say, well, things you connect to your childhood always feel better to you. But I think anybody that was growing up watching those players would feel like that's incredible. I mean, I don't take anything away from the guys now. I just, I feel like it's almost unfair to grow up at that time and watching all those players at the same time or around the same time of each other, or to go from Jordan to Kobe Bryant was definitely a treat. Allen Iverson, for goodness sakes. And I mean, his crossover and watching the way he played his game, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, there's certain things I will never forget, the dunk contest. So yeah, there's a level of excitement back then, but Dave, I have to blame you. Our conversations on Wake Up Call get me excited for what's coming. Like, I'm like, okay, I got it. I want to have Dave on because we always talk about the NBA, and we definitely, during NBA playoffs, we talk about the trail to the championship. And so I always look forward to speaking with you, but I come out of the conversations with it drawing me in because the NBA doesn't draw me in like it used to. And I'm not trying to knock the NBA. There's things about the NBA now that I don't like. But watching these two teams, I like the fact that it's not just SGA versus Halliburton. I like that there's more to this series. I love seeing Miles Turner because I covered him in college. So there's things that I'm really enjoying. And TJ, my goodness, and the story about him and his family, his dad that was there, his sister. There's so many awesome other things than SGA and Halliburton. But I blame our conversations because when we spoke a few days ago, Dave, a couple days ago, and we were talking about going into game 3, when we finished up our conversation, I was like, I cannot wait for this. I don't care where I am Wednesday night. I'm circling it. And I got home after dinner with my dad, and I sat and I watched the game. And then at halftime, I turned on the end of a movie that I was finishing from a couple days ago, and then I went back to the game. So I blame you for making me more excited about the NBA because these conversations always just kind of gravitate me to what's going on in the league because of the level of expertise that you have and the fact that I can literally talk to you about any franchise and you got something to say back to me. And we don't pre-do this. It's not like I tell Dave, here are the questions, this is what we're going to talk about. You are a big reason that has brought me back into being interested in the NBA because when I was a child, I was all about it. I collected the cards, but it's the conversations that I have with you that really do bring me back into it. And I know you're going to take it as a compliment and you're going to defer because you're a humble guy, but it is your fault, Dave, that I'm watching this as close as I am.
Well, I don't know if it's my fault. I think a lot of it as we get older, right? You're right. You always look back like more fondly on, days going by a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I also think as we get older, life happens and there's more things competing for your time and your attention. So sometimes you kind of need like something to focus you to get you excited about something. Like when I was a kid, like you're watching, there wasn't as much content. So it was a big deal to watch, the game of the week, whether it was baseball or, staying up till 9 o'clock to watch the halftime highlights at Monday Night Football because you didn't get, replay as soon as a guy scored, all that kind of thing. So I think you tended to consume more of everything. And then as you get older, like life happens, other, more things competing for your time and your attention. So I think sometimes like you kind of need to have something or someone or something more intentionally focus you, if that makes sense. I think that's, I think it's true of the NBA, but I think it's, it's true of a lot of things in, sports and entertainment and whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean, I would agree, that nostalgia of being a kid. But when I name off the players that I name, I mean, I'm naming some of the greatest of all time. I'm naming people that if you gave me a starting five from my childhood, it's easy for me to put Kobe in, to put Jordan in, to want to put Shaq in. But then there's these other, like I'm a fan of Kevin Durant. I like Kevin Durant's game. And, of course, Steph Curry, I grew up shooting and then going a little farther back, shooting again, make that shot go a little bit farther back, get my percentage up. And I mean, that's my thing. When I'm just going and shooting now, I'm going and taking threes and I'm going around the arc and I'm making sure that I'm making them because I can't leave that court unless I feel good about how I'm playing in all different parts of the court, especially from 3-point, because that was my specialty. And it continues to be my specialty when I'm just shooting for fun. So Steph Curry has absolutely risen up here. I want to ask you a question about what Michael Jordan had said. I was watching something last night. I don't know where he said it, but I was watching him step to the podium and talk about Steph Curry and LeBron James. And he mentioned the fact that he believes Steph Curry has brought more to the game than LeBron because he believes that Steph Curry has changed the NBA. I want to get your thoughts.
I mean, it's an interesting take, and I think Curry in combination with the Warriors, so I think it's not exclusively Curry. It's Curry's obviously the focal point, but that Warriors team, that core with Thompson and the original core, Thompson, Draymond, Iguodala, those guys, I think basketball's a copycat. The NBA is a little bit of a copycat league, and basketball's a copycat sport. So I think the success the Warriors had in combination with like the analytics era. I think Curry's certainly a catalyst or the catalyst for it. It's changed how the game is played. To where it's all about like 3-and-D guys and spacing the floor and classic post play has like really been pushed to the side a little bit. So I think from that perspective, there's certainly validity to what Jordan says because and I also think this is part of Curry's appeal and why like some segment of the sports fan universe gets drawn to Curry maybe more so than LeBron is because I mean LeBron's a freak of nature. Like to be as good as he is for as long as he's been and the physical tools that he's got are one in a generation, one in a lifetime. Curry's like an an average built guy of average size that I think the guy on the street can relate to a little bit more. And he's a guy, like I said, kind of an average stature guy who has a once in a several generations skill that I think people, from a fan perspective standpoint, I think people can maybe identify a little bit more with somebody like Curry versus somebody like LeBron. Um, so I think both in terms of how the game is played and, from a fan standpoint, I would say, the segment of the fan base that really, I think would put Curry on a pedestal over LeBron. But I think big picture, LeBron has probably done more for a longer period of time. But in terms of impact on how the game is played, I think Jordan makes a really good point.
Yeah, and I'm actually putting up the poll right now. Who do you consider to be the greatest NBA player of all time? Michael Jordan, Bill Russell, LeBron James, or Kobe Bryant? And of course, if people have a different answer, they can answer with this. But Dave, here's the thing that frustrates me, and I see you smiling right now. But here's the thing that definitely frustrates me when it comes to this. It's always Jordan or LeBron. But Bill Russell won 11 championships, and Kobe Bryant won 5, which is just one less than Jordan. So I don't understand why it's always LeBron versus Jordan. And I'm guilty of this too, because I'll ask this question to people, and that's what I put out there, because a lot of people want to talk Jordan, LeBron, but Kobe Bryant, Bill Russell absolutely should be in this conversation. He has as many championships as Kobe and Michael combined. But you're smiling, and I know you love LeBron, so I want to hear your thoughts.
My first thought is Kobe Bryant doesn't belong anywhere near the conversation of the greatest players ever.
Okay.
I don't like. I mean, we could spend the rest of the show on that, but I like my take on the greatest player ever argument.
Okay.
I think there are 5 answers that none of them are necessarily wrong. I think you can put any of these 5 guys. You can make an argument for any of these 5 guys and not be wrong. LeBron being one, Jordan being one, Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Kareem. Like, I think any of those guys are a reasonable answer for greatest player ever. And then I would put Bird, Magic in either order at 6, 7. So, and personally, like, I don't have Kobe in my top 10. Like, I just, you talk about, like, to me, the number of championships, I mean, that's a piece of the argument, but that's not the whole argument. If that's the case, Robert Horry should be over all those guys, right? But if you look at Kobe's era winning championships, he was only the best player once. Like, Shaq was in the early championships. Pau Gasol should have been the MVP. Maybe Kobe's last championship, he like legitimately was the MVP. So I just have never bought into the argument that Kobe's like an all-time great guy, like on the level of those other guys we're talking about. I think where it gets tough to separate is, like Wilt individually did some things, and I think you have to look at guys in their era, right?
Yeah.
Because if you drop LeBron James the way he is right now into the 60s, the Bill Russell area, he's going to average 100 points a game. So is Durant, right? And a guy like Russell or even Wilt to a certain extent, they're an undersized forward with limited perimeter skills that would struggle to survive in today's game. So I think that you have to look at guys in their era, and I think you also, like, when you're looking at guys from days gone by, if you're trying to think about how they would fare in the current NBA, if you just time warp them into today, they're going to have a problem. Like, Bob Cousy was doing things with the basketball that nobody did in his era, and he's an all-time great. Like, there's junior high school players that do with the ball what Bob Cousy was doing today. So I think what you have to account for when you're trying to do that is, like, what happens when you expose those guys to, current training methods, sports science, evolution of the game, evolution of the athlete and everything. I think you have to account for that. So, like, when you I think the only really real way to look at guys is how they compare to the other guys in their era, and then just try to, kind of correlate that when you're looking at all-time greats or ranking the best players ever, those kinds of things.
Dave, you'll be very happy to know that early voting has picked Kobe Bryant. So, I love Dave's face. It's very early vote. I literally put it up like within the last couple minutes, but early voting is saying Kobe. I think it's Jordan. I think it's Jordan hands down. I think Jordan is a better defender than LeBron James. I know we talk about LeBron being a freak of nature and for his build and whatnot, but when you look at defense, you look at leaving the game twice and coming back, you look at what he was able to do, you look at the amount of championships he won if he had stayed, how many more would Jordan have won in that middle ground? You look at the fact that Jordan did not come to a team, like leave teams and go to franchises and leave a giant crater and then go and buy people. He didn't buy Karl Malone. He didn't buy Gary Payton. He didn't, go out there and buy Patrick Ewing. He didn't say, I don't want to play against those guys. I want them on my team. He had Scottie because that's who the Bulls had. They went and got Rodman, but they won before Rodman. So, I mean, I think if you look at Jordan's individual talent, you look at what he did with his teams, and you look at the fact that the NBA at the time that he was playing, half of the NBA at least were all-stars. Half of the NBA, there was 2 guys on so many different franchises, if not more than two guys, that Jordan had to beat a rogues gallery just to get to the NBA Finals, to get to the playoffs even, where you look at LeBron's time and you're like, okay, there's a couple good teams. There's a big three that didn't work in Brooklyn. There obviously is a big three that worked in Golden State. LeBron was a part of a bunch of big threes, and the Celtics had a big three that worked for a little bit of time. I just feel like if you put Jordan in any era, he makes sense. If you put him before his time in the 60s, he makes sense. If you put him where he was facing a gamut of at least half of the NBA being a threat. And then if you put him in here now, I still think that Jordan, being who he is, the competitor that he is, and the fact that he's a chameleon and can grow and learn and evolve, I don't know if there's anybody that will ever touch the game that will do what Jordan did. And then you look at Steph, and I don't think Steph is the greatest of all time, but I think Steph changed the game. My question that I have for you, Dave, Jerry McNamara was a three-point specialist, and they weren't really focused on his defense. Steph Curry's a three-point specialist, not really focused on his defense. Was Jerry just the victim of not going into the NBA at the right time? Because it felt like him and Steph, it's like if they let Steph in, how did Jerry not get a chance? Now, I know he was coming off of a groin injury, and groin and hamstring, that stuff is nagging, but is Jerry McNamara the victim of being a really good shooter like Steph? Can shoot from anywhere, can shoot, literally in any type of situation with minimal timing, can shoot with his feet on the ground, can shoot falling backwards. Because when I look at Jerry and I look at Steph, in my opinion, I just feel like if Steph got a chance, Jerry should have. Was it just simply that he was a victim of timing?
Well, sometimes it's timing and circumstance, right? Um, like we talked about, like with Steph, excuse me, Steph changing the NBA, part of it was his innate talent and his development as a player, but he also landed in the right spot with the right team, in the right scheme, in the right situation.
Yeah.
They probably would have been an elite level player regardless, but maybe not at the level he's been, and maybe the game doesn't change the way it does if he doesn't land in that situation in an environment where the team and the organization is, willing to play that way. In terms of Jerry McNamara, again, it's a lot of timing and circumstance. Could he have stuck in the NBA, in the right situation? Probably. I think it's a big leap to kind of surmise that, like he could have ended up what Curry is. I think if he could have ended up even remotely close to what Curry is, he would have stuck at some level. But do I think he could have stuck and could have carved out a role for him in the NBA if he landed in the right situation? For sure.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's just something, and I'm not trying to say he is Curry. It's something, because Curry's Curry, and Curry's in a league of his own. I mean, I grew up watching Reggie Miller, and I think Steph Curry has more than proven himself to be beyond Reggie Miller, which I didn't even know if I would see that the way that Reggie shot the three. But there's just, I don't know, I just feel like it was just an unfair circumstance at the time that I feel like he would have had longevity. I could have seen him in a Milwaukee or in a Dallas and just, watched him excel, and we never got to see that. But Steph doing the work that he's done obviously cannot go understated by any stretch of the imagination. Dave, before I let you go, looking at the game last night in Game 3, 37-36 was the first time that the Pacers led in the game. It happened with about 9 minutes left in the second quarter. They were down by as many as 9 in the first half prior to that happening. They take the lead, and then you see the teams go back and forth with each other. We head into halftime, and when we look at it, Oklahoma City after the first quarter was up 32-24, and then in the first half they scored 60 points, and that was to the 64 scored by Indiana. Indiana had the 4-point lead. Then Oklahoma City takes it back in the third quarter by outscoring Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City takes it back in the third quarter, outscoring Indiana 29-20, and then we see a fourth quarter where Indiana almost doubled the output of Oklahoma City, 32-18. This game was not theirs. Even though they had it, they fought back to get it, and that's why I love this series so much, is that it was Oklahoma City early, but Indiana was never out of it. Then Indiana took it, but then Oklahoma City took it back. And then going into the fourth quarter, Indiana, who had been pushing, and you kind of felt like they have it, they're ripe to take this momentum. They had never taken it until they took it in the fourth quarter. But with 11 minutes left in the game, Dave, I wasn't worried about Indiana. I don't know if you were, but I'd love to get your thoughts about how Indiana just never felt like they were going to be out of this game.
Yeah, well, you know what's interesting is like in the first half, I kind of when the game as the game started and everything, I kind of felt like, okay, Oklahoma City's going to assert themselves. It's like to me the early going in the game felt like it was going to go the Thunder's way, but then kind of what's happened in the playoffs earlier on, the more the Pacers stick around, the more dangerous they become. I mean, if you look at like a lot of the stats, I mean we talked about last time one of the keys being the Pacers having to shoot the three at a really high level. They really didn't do that. They shot it okay last night, and it was Oklahoma City shot the ball exceptionally well from three. I think they were like in the mid 40s from three. All three of their top stars had a big night. You look at some of the numbers and you think the Thunder should have won that game easily.
Yeah.
But I think the couple of things that that really swung the game in Indiana's favor. And we talked about this last time too. Like game one, Pacers bench outperformed the more out of their bench than between TJ McConnell. I mean, Toppin was a factor. Mathurin was phenomenal last night. So in the game before, it was Caruso was really kind of the guy that tipped the game for the Thunder. So that one factor seems to be kind of an indicator for this series, and the other factor that's a little bit of an indicator, Oklahoma City is like a high level, like almost historically good level defensively, but they got to get some stuff off the turnovers. And last night, the turnover battle, both number of turnovers, points off turnovers, that went Indiana's way. And so, I think that's one of the things that Oklahoma City needs to win, to come out on top in a game and come out on top in the series. And then at the end of games, Indiana has just been really good down the stretch in games. And I think, there's a little bit of karma and a little bit of self-belief that builds itself the more times that you're successful in those situations. And so they have that little bit of, feel like a lot of things are have tended to go their way at the end of games.
Yeah, in looking back at the three, like you said, I mean, Indiana, early on, you start to see them as they're trying to come back in the first half, that they're making some threes here, 33.3% in the game, though, to 45.5% for Oklahoma City. But when you look at the charity stripe, Oklahoma City, including down the stretch when it could have been a two-possession game with under a minute to play, they missed. They went 1 of 2 from the charity stripe, missing free throws. They missed 7 free throws last night, 76.7%. And then the Pacers went 19 of 22 from the charity stripe, 86.4%. So they did make their free throws comparative to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who missed 7 free throws and lose the game by 9 points. So that's a factor in it as well. You mentioned the bench, and I think at one point the Pacers bench had outscored the Oklahoma City Thunder bench 26-7. I mean, we've talked about bench. We've talked about these are two teams that go deep into their bench, Dave. They'll play 7 guys, 9 guys, 10 guys. So we know that they're willing to lean on their bench. But yesterday, Indiana, their bench looked like starters. What can you say to this bench? And you made mention of some of these guys, but I mean, you look at Thomas Bryant, Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell, and then Mathurin, like you said, he had a fantastic game last night. I mean, Mathurin's out here, 27 points off the bench in 22 minutes. He ends the game with 4 rebounds, an assist, a block, and only 1 turnover. TJ McConnell, 10 points in 15 minutes. And then Obi Toppin, he didn't wow in the point place here, 8 points in 28 minutes, but he had 5 defensive rebounds, 6 rebounds overall. He had a couple blocks in the game, only 1 turnover and an assist. Just what you can say to Indiana's bench, because Obi Toppin, again, let's talk about the Knicks. Obi Toppin was a Knick, so, Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell, I mean, Mathurin, this is a team where you're watching a game, and if you don't know the Pacers and you're watching McConnell out there, or maybe watching a Toppin out there, or Mathurin out there, your brain might be like, oh, this is a starter. No, this guy's coming off the bench. I'd love to get your thoughts on Indiana's bench.
Yeah, well, it's bittersweet when I watch McConnell out there because he was with my Sixers, and I hate like that. That was like kind of a deal where they couldn't afford to keep him because of salary cap stuff. So I've always like really appreciated what McConnell brings to the table for a team. Um, you know, like you mentioned, Toppin. Toppin's +8. They're +18 with Toppin on the floor last night, +16 with Mathurin. So, um, it's kind of a truism, old truism, semi-truism in basketball that your role players tend to play. I mean, your stars usually play pretty well home or away. Um, there's always been kind of a belief that your role players tend to play better at home. So that may have been part of it. But like through this playoffs, Indiana honestly has been as good or better on the road than at home. So, um, I think that's um, one of the things that both these teams I think have kind of leaned on a little bit by playing 10 guys, 9, 10 guys every game. Um, they kind of open the door um, to guys having breakout games, breakout performances, and lifting the team versus like Halliburton's a really interesting guy because I think when he's aggressive and sometimes they almost got to get him to shoot more because his inclination is a pass first guy. Saw a thing where he's been like a top 3 in number of passes in the league the last 3 years. Um, but I think when he's aggressive offensively, he in turn, because his nature is to create for other guys, then when he's aggressive himself offensively and draws more attention, it makes him even more effective getting shots for other guys. So there's like a little bit of a dichotomy there. But I think which bench is more productive, I think is going to continue to be a key indicator in this series.
And I do want to make a very special note because those of you that know me well know that Gonzaga is probably next to my hometown of Syracuse, my second favorite team of many, many years, of over a decade now. And there's a Gonzaga player on both sides of this NBA Finals. So Gonzaga is going to win a championship no matter what here. Even though we're waiting for them to do it in the NCAA tournament, I can say that Chet Holmgren, who is the second overall pick, other side of it, he is with the Pacers as a starter, and he was the 31st pick in the same year of 2022 in round 2, which is the first pick of the second round. So, Dave, I want to end with something unique here. Nembhard and Holmgren, the fact that there's Gonzaga guys starting on these teams. We know that they could do awesome things in the NCAA tournament, but we know that they're meaningful to the Pacers and to the Thunder, and one of them is going to win a championship this year.
Yeah, and I think in Holmgren's case, he's high draft pick to the top of the draft and everything. I think there's like nobody is, basketball expected him to be really good. Okay. He had a little injury setback, which fortunately he's come back from. But I think he's on a trajectory to be a top player in the league. Nembhard, he picked in the second round and everything. That's more of a crapshoot, and that's more of kind of a testament to player evaluation and player development, and to him, that he's kind of gone from that being drafted at that spot to becoming a starter and a key ingredient in a team that has a chance, 2 wins from an NBA title.
Yeah, and a shout out to Thomas Bryant, who plays for Indiana and went to school at Indiana as well. So this is also a unique thing for him. Dave, as always, I appreciate the time. We have Game 4 in Indiana is coming up this Friday the 13th. You and I will be watching it, and then you and I will be discussing the NBA next week as well. As always, Dave, I appreciate the time, and it always goes by so fast. And I will say it again, even though you won't take credit for it, I blame you, partially at least, for getting me excited about the NBA Finals.
Well, I'll accept that blame then, because I'm, always great to talk to you, Dan. And like you said, the time flies by.
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk soon, and I look forward to it. 2-1, the Pacers lead. We'll see what happens in Game 4, and we'll be talking with Dave. Dave, thanks as always.
Okay, take care, Dan.
Take care. That coming from Dave Pasiak. One more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, we are going to take our final step aside of the day, and when we come back, we will wrap up today's show on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, right here with you, as always, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Stay with us. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-4 432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Find GG Cards and Breaks open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and Sundays from 10 to 5. They have hockey, soccer, basketball, football, baseball, Disney, Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and more while supplies last. For packs, for boxes, for singles, for graded cards, for potential 101s, short print cards, RPAs, rookie patch auto. So many different things at GG Cards and Breaks. You never know what you're going to find. They just added a bunch of new stuff to the cases. There's more cases out there. There's more boxes out there. And you've been buying the boxes off the shelves. I was just in there a couple days ago, and Anthony said, he's like, we put stuff up, came in here over the weekend, gone. So thank you for going to GG Cards and Breaks. I know a bunch of you have gone and trusted us here at Wake Up Call, and I appreciate that. Go and be a big kid today and make a memory with somebody that you love over at GG Cards and Breaks. Let them know that DT sent you to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. With that being said here on the show, I want to thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And we, of course, are here with you Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So you can see us on YouTube and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. You can have our internet streaming radio. We jump to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. You could find us there as well as on Podbean, Podvine, Podchaser.com, Player FM, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. You can also ask Alexa in your Google Home device to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they'll do that for you as well. Big time thanks to our Brooklyn Pickle down in Southern Pines, North Kakalaki. You will find the Brooklyn Pickle down there in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by the Pinehurst Golf Course that the PGA Tour utilizes, and you know so very well. Head off to the Brooklyn Pickle today. Let them know that DT sent you these fantastic and wonderful sandwiches and salads and soups and all the great things that they have at Brooklyn Pickle. You can now get those down in North Carolina by simply going to 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. We appreciate everybody that has trusted our word and gone out there today, and we thank you for everyone that will go out to Brooklyn Pickle in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Many thanks to everybody that's gone out to our wonderful partners here in Central and Upstate New York. Thank you to those that have not only been there but have frequented Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Servomation, reinvigorating, reinventing, and just, to me, restoring and giving us faith in the vending world when it comes to technology, access, quality, quantity. Servomation does something absolutely incredible. I love touring their facility and seeing what they do to completely change how I view vending. I mean, if you have Servomation vending at your place, you don't have to go out and get food anywhere else. You can go right to the break room and have what you need. Many different varieties when it comes to what it is. The kitchen is massive that's putting this food together. You got a chef putting this food together, and you have so many different choices that I never even thought would be in a vending machine. So truly, Servomation has changed everything I think of when it comes to vending. You can find out more and have them do vending at your location by going to servomation.com. That's SERVOMATION.com. Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Brian's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins during Dolphin Time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, you can find them by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find over 200 videos with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. The Dolphins call Wake Up Call home. You can also find them on the home page of wakeupcalldt.com and under the exclusive Partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every month during the Bobcat Buzz. Student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining me here on Wake Up Call. Find over 100 videos with your Bobcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Student athletes, coaches, and administration joining the show. Shout out to Gene Marshall being honored down in Orlando this week for his wonderful giving that he brings to the table when it comes to overseeing an athletic department, for all that he has done for Binghamton University and he has done in his career. Congratulations to Mr. Gene Marshall, who is no stranger to the broadcast. You can find all of our content with Binghamton by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. We're almost at 100 videos, and they are our newest partner. So shout out to the fact that we have ramped it up with Binghamton. Under promise, over deliver. That's what we do here on Wake Up Call. You can find them also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, I want to thank Papa Joe and the baseball talk. I want to thank Mr. Pasiak and the basketball talk. More than anything, I want to thank them for being awesome people in my life and being family. Thank you to PJ and thank you to DP. We'll be back here on Wake Up Call, God willing, tomorrow morning for the annoying moment of the week, brought to you by Carvel DeWitt. Lead, Learn, Evolve, Adlib, and Deliver, brought to you by Chick-fil-A Cicero. And the Top Dog of the Week, brought to you by Canine Camp Dog Daycare of East Syracuse. I will also be joined at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow with my buddy Ross Turetsky, fellow broadcaster and writer. And we'll be having some fun talking about many topics in the sports world. For all of that and more, make sure you're with us tomorrow morning. And for 24/7 coverage, make sure you're with us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. There's a bunch of polls up, and you could vote in those by following us on our social media. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I can't believe the show's over. It literally was like that this morning. But I'm excited for what's to come in today. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope we all do. Allow God to guide you. Allow God to guard you. And may God's voice be distinct. May you hear it above all the other voices, and may you follow it, because it's the only voice that will consistently love you without conditions. With that being said, God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll see you soon from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. This is Wake Up Call, and you're amazing.